I first met Joy Ko, I think end of 2012 when she did the Awakening Transformation Workshop, and she immediately started volunteering after that, and she was quite pushy. I did not get along with her at that time, and I failed to hold my space. I fell back into my small self, so in that sense, I was already like starting to enable her. Her modus operandi was like she used a top dog strategy. So to get to the top, because narcissists always like to be the best, they always like to be on top. She would really pick on others, point out their flaws or their mistakes, or whatever she perceived as a flaw or a mistake, talk about behind people's backs. And she just bulldozed her way in and, sort of put herself into some sort of a leader position, even though Shimashidi had always said, there is no hierarchy. And Shimashidi had provided this beautiful platform for us to volunteer, and we were given an equal voice, and Shimashiji really worked on the basis of trust. We were imparted with so much trust, and Joy Ko has really, really abused this trust. And it got worse once she joined the FIT program. But at that time, I had not realized really what was going on. I looked within myself. I'm very grateful to Shimashiji for always, giving us the opportunity to reflect and look at our own shortfalls and shortcomings and our small self patterns and behaviors so that we can move beyond that. And after I moved away from Sydney back to the Netherlands, Joy sort of backed off from me. She didn't really do much towards me. But what I did not realize is that she continued to really, be the bully and play all her dirty games amongst the facilitators in training in Sydney. All this only really came out years later. So one of the things she's done is she really manipulated and groomed one of the fits in Sydney. His name is Clarito Hanuman. He's a true empath, and she really played him. She really exploited his dedication and devotion to Kosmic Fusion and to Shimashiji. And what she would do is she would fill his ears about all the other volunteers and fits, and portray herself as sort of a victim, and so he would feel the need to protect her, and all sorts of narcissistic games she played with him, and he'll be much more able to explain all that happened to him. So I'll share the link to his blogs in the description of this video. Please check it out because that's really another story. But for me, I actually, as the years progressed, Joy Ko was really wearing a mask. She was wearing a mask of a very hardworking, dedicated volunteer, and later on a devotee. So I actually fell for it. Being naive, and I fell for it. I actually put herself above me in my head as someone I could learn from and looked up to. And really, I shouldn't have done that, because no hierarchy is no hierarchy, and also no comparison is needed. But that's my mistake. So when first the cracks, the facade started to crack, I was quite shocked, but it didn't really add up in my head until her mask fully fell off. So it was on the pilgrimage in India in early 2017 that I started to see things that sort of surprised me, from someone you look up to. For example, we would be visiting beautiful Swaminarayan temples and other temples, and she would just push her way to the front and not caring about anybody else. She always wanted to be in the front. And I thought that's odd. Like, it's such selfish behavior that I couldn't quite place with her, because she's always presented herself as such a nice and devotee and volunteer. And then later on in that year, in July, during the FIT reunion, the reunion was organized by the FITs for the FITs, so that we could start to gain clarity on what had happened, because by that time, the narcissist had created such chaos that the rest of us were like, what happened? So we're trying to get clarity and really be honest on how each one of us had contributed to the situation. So that was the purpose of the reunion. Now at some point, Irene pulls me to the side, and at first she starts to sort of butter me up. She's saying, oh, and trying to, make it sound like she can help me become better at something, and, trying to act like she's helping me. And then all of a sudden the topic shifts and she goes, but you got to be really aware of this person. And she was actually gossiping about another fit. And I was shocked. I was just shocked. And then she goes on to say that, this person is saying, I've got a dark side. Like, I don't have a dark side. And I was completely shocked. I just did not know what to make of it. That really shook me. But I still did not think it through, like, 1 and 1 is 2. I was not joining the dots right there and then. But it was shortly after her mask fully fell off, and it became clear what she had been doing all those years. She had been stealing data from Kosmic Fusion, stealing stealing all the teachings, like making copies and copies and copies. She'd set up her own business by that time called Holistic Freedom Wellness Center, and really she was running things in using the name of using the teachings and materials and copyright of Kosmic Fusion, but just for her own benefit. And as it turned out, she wanted to actually edge Shimanshiji out and replace Shimanshiji. She wanted fame, she wanted fortune. So this has nothing to do with anything Kosmic Fusion stands for. So clearly it's only normal that, if a person has been given a lot of chance to change and to reflect, and they're not doing so, they're not willing to honestly look at themselves, that they'll be asked to leave.